All right. Hello and welcome to episode 41 of our Conversation to Connect. Let's Get Real Talks powered by Exceptional Connections. I'm CyndiONeill-Dady, the founder and chief connector of Exceptional Connections since 2009. At Exceptional Connections, we offer intentional and innovative to boost your business. So each month, we nominate a different member of our Exceptional Connections community to have a conversation with, as well as our spotlight speakers. And so be sure to make yourself comfortable with a cup of tea or a beverage of your choice. Take notes and make sure to add comments to the chat box to engage with us during the conversation. Around the 45-minute mark, I'll unmute the line and invite our listeners to ask questions, share their ahas, epiphanies, and of course, enter into our thought-provoking conversation with Cosimo. So the inspiration of our bi-weekly Conversation to Connect, Let's Get Real Talks, is purposeful conversation. So we desire to be relevant during these challenging and crazy times we live in, and to support our community to make an impact in the world and, of course, stay connected. So as we get started here, I invite you to set aside all distractions and invest your attention into the conversation that's about to unfold. I want to challenge you to look for just one idea that you can take away and put into action so you don't cheat yourself out of the time you've invested here. So our Conversation to Connect this week is with Cosimo Intermite, and he's from Denver, Colorado. Benvenuto. Welcome, Cosimo.
Thank you very much. I'm super excited to be here today.
Well, we're glad to have you, and we're excited that you've come back. You were our spotlight speaker for March, and we're looking forward to taking a deeper dive here. So our topic today is learning blocks equal professional blocks. So before we get into this really fascinating conversation, I want to take a moment to introduce Cosimo. So Cosimo Intermite is a highly credentialed instructor of learning techniques. He has master level certifications in the following fields: mind maps, speed reading, micro team building, public speaking, effective communication, goal setting, decision making, personal development, time management, and last but never least, memory techniques. That's what we all need, right? He's born and raised in Italy, and him and his wife enjoy training people all over the world from their Denver office. They customize programs that are unique to each person's learning style and brain development. Cosimo believes everyone loves to learn, but they don't like the learning process. So he bridges the gap by teaching people the best process for their brain. So Cosimo, welcome. And start us off by sharing a little bit more about your journey for our listeners here today.
For the core, yeah, no problem. So my journey starts in Italy, actually. I'm Italian. And so I found this course when I was going to college. So, those people that they stop you with flyers. Actually, I never stopped with those people, but the day they were like a beautiful girl, pretty, and it just stopped because she was a girl. Anyways, so she gave me this flyer and she told me, Cosimo, I'm having this workshop. Why don't you come? I said, are you there? She said, yes. Okay, I'm coming. So I just came to the workshop for that reason. In reality, in the moment, what I was thinking is maybe not everyone knows that I'm dyslexic. I had some challenges in school as far as like retaining languages or having, let's say, I had good grades, but I was studying hours and hours and more than others sometimes. And at some point, I felt also dumb on some subjects and everything. So anyways, this course was like for me, okay, let me check it out. Maybe it will be something very important for me. So when I went there, they blew my mind with anything they could do with their mind. And they told me, hey, dyslexic people, or whatever you want to call learning disabilities or superpowers, or we never developed or we don't know how to use, it's just a different way your brain needs to learn. What we do with you, and what we'll do with you is to customize a perfect method on how your brain likes learning. So I didn't understand what it means customized, but basically to give you some examples, they give me a test. It's called the Genius Test, through which they knew everything. And I know now everything about people's mind. So blocks I had, strengths that I had, how my brain likes learning, and many other things. And to each block, they associated a technique, block, technique, block, technique. So in that moment, so just to give you an example, dyslexic, I don't know if you know what it means, but it's a learning disability. And usually you can't really read faster because you see, let's say, word switching. I'm putting this in a very simple way, okay? And guys, you have to believe me. They gave me, okay, Cosimo, you have to do this technique, do it. And then you tell me how it goes. Guys, I was going twice faster, understanding 4 times more. And I said, this is incredible. I said, oh my God, I never was able to do this. And they told me, there are hundreds of techniques out there that you can try and you can use it with your mind, but not all those techniques will fit in your learning model. So what we gave you is just a technique that we know it will work with your mind and you will enjoy it using it. So my journey started basically in Italy. And then they asked me, Cosimo, do you want to open an American location? And last time I told you, I said, certamente è una bellissima opportunità, perché no? Mi piacerebbe parlare un'altra lingua, parlare con gli americani. I can go ahead this way if you want, in English, in Italian. No, I don't think you would appreciate so much at some point, but actually understand, let's say it that way, understand. Yeah, I was a little bit scared because I was, as I told you, dyslexic. I never learned English in years of school. But on the other hand, one of the things that I really learned, and tonight in the Learning Blocks course, they are coming, I'm going to say the same story, that basically I felt not confident about learning this language since I was not able to learn that in years of school. So then after, so the other hand, my other voice said, Cosimo, yes, you can do that. You have a method now. You can really learn things. And that's what changes from years of school and now. So I learned 6,000 words in 2 weeks, plus the grammar rules. I was able to hold my course. From there, I did a TED Talk. Anyways, there was so many beautiful things happening in my life in that moment and in this moment also. And so anyways, this story is not to brag, of course, or to show off, but just to know that when we have a method or when we have a way our brain likes using and learning with, we can really achieve anything we want to achieve. And I want people to feel this way every moment of their life. That's my dream, let's say that way. That's why I do what I do. And I'm super excited. So
that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful because we all have brains and they're beautiful brains and we all have different ways of learning. And, you know, it's always been frustrating to me. I homeschooled my kids. I shared that with you earlier, yes. But, you know, they were all so different. I had to use different curriculum and different methods for each and every one of them. And so it's important just to, at the very beginning of this talk, to just say, you know, I love my brain. I have a great brain, right? And just learn yes. to understand what your brain needs. So, so thank you again for the 20-minute teaser that you gave our community on learning blocks and equal professional blocks. You know, you did a great job of sharing with our community. And in your talk, you mentioned that, you know, again, every brain likes learning in a different way. What did you mean by that?
So basically, everyone has a different learning model. What does it mean, a different learning model? So to summarize for you, a 1,000 pages in psychology, so of learning models. Basically, a learning model is how our brain likes learning. And it's been studied that every brain is different from each other. So, I mean, that's not a secret for anyone, okay? But it's very different. So just let me give you an example. Let's say we want to replace Einstein, okay? Okay, let's replace Einstein. Can we replace Einstein? Well, we can put someone better than Einstein, maybe worse than Einstein, but we can have exactly someone with the same brain as Einstein had, okay? So his brain was unique to learn things in a specific way, like all of our brains. We learn, connect, understand, process things, a piece of information in a totally different way. So in other words, if I tell you, how does your brain like organizing? You say, I just maybe write down things on a to-do list, or maybe I don't know, I can block time in my calendar. I try to have a paper, whatever. But is that real what your brain likes doing? Well, if you feel, for example, overwhelmed, frustrated, or whatever, that's not the way how your brain likes actually organizing. But no one told you how your brain likes organizing, for example. Okay. Or how does your brain likes understanding? Why is that possible that I'm reading something and I can understand it? Other things I can't understand it. And actually our brain can understand anything, but would you just know how that process starts in our brain to connect pieces of information? So in the learning model, you find all of those different things. And what happens is, if you understand that your learning model is as unique as your DNA, so when you will die, no one will learn the same way you learn, then you start thinking and understanding that you have to find the perfect way you can work with your learning model and succeed with that. Because it's something that we have from we are born, and it's perfect for us anytime, and for every person, it's perfect for the person to have a learning model. So for me, I didn't see that being dyslexic, for example, was a good thing to have in my learning model. But after I understood that there are techniques, for example, for that, I said, oh my gosh, I can go as fast as I want now. It was perfect for me. There are people that are not dyslexic and they experience exactly the same thing, but in a different way because their brain is different. So we have to understand that we have also cognitive styles, learning channels. There are so many things in our brain that usually the average don't know those things, but it's not because it's the average, it's because no one told us that these things are important in our brain, okay? Or no one put us the focus on those things. So you don't need to feel guilty if you don't know how your learning model works. But for sure, from this moment on, listening to me and to this fantastic opportunity that Cyndi gave us, it's your responsibility to find what works for your learning model. And after you find it, you will see that you can achieve results that you maybe barely fathom today that you are thinking about that. So it's freaking awesome. So that's what I mean with everyone learning a different way.
Right. No, that's beautiful. Yes, because you're right. No one taught us how to, I mean, for the most part, you know, our society, our schools, they don't necessarily teach us how to learn. They just teach us what to learn. And so I love what you're saying is our brains can actually be happy, right? They could be excited instead of petrified, like, oh, I got to learn this. How am I going to understand this? So, take us down that road now. Help us to understand this whole process and how we can better understand your statement of, that our brain likes to learn.
Oh, I love that question. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to share my screen because I think that's very good, Cyndi. I love that question. I actually I was thinking to do that in the beginning when you asked me the question, but now even better. So, okay, let's understand this. Okay, so as I told you, part of the learning model is how we like seeing, understanding, processing piece of information, okay? So I asked you some questions like, how does your brain likes understanding things? If I ask you this question, you say, I just opened the book, I understand things. I open an email and I start understanding things. But how come you can understand an email and then if I give you another book, you can't understand it? Or if I give you another topic, you can't understand it. There are different factors, of course, externally and internally, why we don't understand everything. But actually, our brain is designed to connect everything with everything we know. So anyways, I'm going to talk about now what's one small important piece of a learning model, which is what they are called cognitive styles. Now, cognitive styles is, okay, let me do this, learning channels. Many people are familiar with visual, audio, auditory, and kinesthetic, okay?
Yes.
Very, very common, people know this. So let me simplify. Okay, if someone is expert of this, you will notice that I'm going to simplify so much those topics because I want to tell you something about myself now. I love when things are simple, so I get it. And then if I want to go deeper in this, at least I know what I'm going to find, okay? So, but if you just put on the people all many details and they don't know what it is, no one follows you. You're going to lose basically interest in things, okay? But anyways, I'm going to simplify everything. I love being simple, practical. Let's do it. So let's understand this. visual, audio, kinesthetic. That's actually how we perceive, just a second, this is my dyslexia, perceive reality, okay? Is how we perceive reality and pieces of information. Let's do this way. So we're talking about what? Perception. Cognitive styles are 24. Okay, I'm not going to list for them all of them. Okay, so I'm not going to list all of them for you right now, but I'm going to tell you out of those 24, we use 12 of those. 12 of those. Two of those are the main one. Actually, 4 of those are the main one. And basically, they are global, analytical, visual, and verbal. Okay. So what are cognitive styles for? What's their role in our brain? Is to process pieces of information, okay? Process piece of information. So what happens here? What's the most important part in our brain? So learning channels or cognitive styles? Well, the deeper we go in our brain, the more important becomes what we have in our brain. Now, everything is important to collaborate and to give us an experience, but in this case, if you perceive, but you don't understand, so you don't process well, you can't use the piece of information. Okay, so the difference between those is the one is responsible for perception, and the other one is responsible for processing, so putting things together. You may perceive something, but maybe you perceive it wrong, so you can't process it. Okay, perfect. So, or you thought you perceived it that well, but you can't understand it. So there is basically a miscommunication between those two things. Is it clear for everyone what I mean? I'm simplifying everything, but if you have questions, please ask me. Okay, so what happens here? Now, people can be global verbal, analytical visual, analytical verbal, global visual. So there are different combinations about those. Let me explain to you what it means global, analytical, visual, and verbal. Global people, they get to big pictures. So they reason in big things. They want to see the whole picture, okay, before doing anything. So one of the things, so I would say big pictures oriented. Analytical people, they need to have all the details, okay? They want to have all the details under control in order to feel confident they can see the big picture. Is this clear? So then visual is a person that needs to do things. They have to do things, okay? And they can see. So to process, they have to see things, okay? Verbal people, they actually are very logic. So they want to, everything that they are doing needs to make sense, or otherwise they can't process it. Is it clear for all of you? Perfect. So let's understand this now. Now, what are the disadvantages? When you don't have a method, last time I told you an important concept. A lack of method creates a lack of confidence. One of the examples I told you was this. Let's say you try to learn a language, and 6 months ago or 3 years ago in high school, and now I ask you to talk that language, to speak the language right now, to translate what I'm saying. Most of you will have a lack of confidence because the method you use, so repeating over and over, didn't create enough confidence in now using the piece of information that you had. Is it clear? So the thing is, if you don't have a method, you can't control the power of your cognitive styles, for example. So that's why you're going to process something super well and something it's not processing well in your mind. Is it clear? So in other words, let's say, as I told you last time, let's say you have a flat tire, okay? And I don't give you tools to change it. Can you change that flat tire? No. You have to lift the car, screw the bolts. So it's not your fault. It's just because you don't have tools to do that, okay? Now, the same is this. How can you actually have them work if you can't open it? No one gave you the keys to open this, okay? You can't do it. So if you don't own it, the process will own you, so will control you. Is this clear? Okay, perfect. So let's understand now. So yes, big picture, but what happens for global people? They are going to lose many details. So they feel they think they got it, and then they are going ahead, and at some point when they're going ahead, they said, oh my God, I missed that. I didn't know there was that. Oh, and they are going to go back again and see the things that they missed. Analytical people, if they are very blocked in their learning, let's say they have a huge learning block, let's say the most, they are going to get stuck into any details. So they are going to feel analysis paralysis. That's what happens. Visual people, when they are blocked, they will be like a hamster in a wheel. Okay, so they are going to do because they think they see something, or they are doing just to see something that they can't see in the moment to do. Okay, so they're going to feel super busy, then at the end of the day, not very productive. Verbal basically don't even start unless they understand it. So they will get there and say, I will put it off until you give me a good reason to start this in their mind. Okay, so that's how people will feel blocked if they don't have a method that they know. What does your brain like using? Are you more global than analytical? Are you more visual than verbal? What actually are your learning styles? What does your brain like using? If you don't know that, you're going to create massive frustration, overwhelming, and at the end, feeling defeat on the things that you're going to build. To give you another example, this is actually a true story of one of many students that I had, customers that I had. She basically wanted to build an online course. And what happened for her, she was basically thinking about this idea for 3 years. Okay, she had like thousands, I don't want to say thousands, but hundreds of sheets of paper with ideas, things, sketch and all of that. I could understand immediately she was analytical and visual. Okay, but what happened was this. She said for 3 years she couldn't launch this because there were so many pieces to put together. Now you understand analytical. So many pieces, details that makes me feel confident to go ahead and see the picture. So visual. So she couldn't understand that. And she was basically doubting on herself, and doing different things that were not productive for her to do. So that's why she ended up to put it off. A program that actually would have saved so much money and time to the people that were listening to her. Said, this is genius. I think you should publish this. Anyways, she took the course. And after the course, what happens was this. We were in a room together, one-to-one, and I said, you understood now from the course, the analytical and visual. This is the technique you have to use. And let's do it. Let's use this on your course. She actually ended up to finish put together the whole course in the week after the course. In the second week, she was recording. The third week, she launched the course. Now she basically is online. 3 years stuck in 3 weeks. For what reason? Because no one taught us, and no one taught her a method. She was cursing and doubting and blaming herself for something that actually is just a tool. It's just something that you have in your mind that you don't know how to use it. For what reason? No reasons. You just need to find a tool. That's my call for you, okay?
Wow, I love that. Yes, and it's important for us to be able to identify what our learning styles are. For me, I feel like I'm verbal and then visual. Verbal and visual are my two strong points, I guess.
Oh, just a second. You have to be for sure either global analytical or visual verbal. So you can be also visual verbal at the same time. That's a rare case, but you can.
Oh, you can?
Yes, you can. So, okay, let me explain to you this because it's really interesting. I love, guys, I can talk for hours about this because it's fascinating and I love studying myself. Okay, so let me explain this to you. Okay, there are so many things that I need to put together now and done. Okay, let's understand. So people can be for sure either global or analytical. And they need to be also either visual or verbal. Okay. So can they be global and analytical at the same time? In the main learning style, the answer is rarely, but really rarely they can be in the middle. Okay. Visual verbal, yes, they can be visual verbal very easily. Okay. So it's not rare, but it is like not common. it's okay. So I said, so I mean, it's possible. Okay. Now, the thing is, for sure, between those two, there will be something your brain prefers the most. Is it clear this? So now I think based on you, Cyndi, you are analytical and verbal. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would just,
analytical, visual, verbal.
I
Analytical,
didn't
visual,
pay
verbal.
attention to
That's
your loops and how you did it, but yeah, now I agree with you.
okay. So now, and I want to tell you how this works in reality, because too much theory, and then I want to show you the reality, what this actually is. Have you ever had a professor in school that they were trying to explain to you something, even in different ways, but you couldn't get it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what happens? Let's say you're analytical and visual. Okay. Most likely this person was global verbal. So was totally not matching the way you need to see the piece of information in your freaking mind. Okay.
Yes.
So that's what happened. Okay. Sounds great. Now, what happens is in business happens even worse sometimes. In school, you felt you couldn't engage, you didn't feel confident, you didn't like the subject, and most likely you lost motivation in doing things for that subject. Okay, so you didn't want to follow through the class, basically. In business, it's even, I said, worse, because let's say Cyndi is talking about her business, and let's say Cyndi is analytical, visual, verbal. So analytical and visual, I think, is the most important one for her. So, and let's say global verbal. When she's going to present her business to me, I'm going to process her piece of information. But if I can't see those pieces of information the way my brain wants to see it, I'm going to lose what? Focus. Then I'm going to lose interest. Then I'm going to lose trust, not in her, in the piece of information, at the very end, in the business itself. Okay. And in the moment when you're going to talk to this person, you're going to ask the question, do you want to move forward with my business? They are going to tell you, I have to think about. I don't know if you've heard that sentence. I have to think about. And it's true, because if you dare to ask them, what do you have to think about? They're going to say, I don't know. And it's again true, because they didn't understand what you were talking about, since you didn't match their cognitive size, the way they needed to process, understand pieces of information. Is this clear?
That's brilliant. That is, I think, such a big key, because, you know, in business, a confused mind says no, right? So if somebody's confused, they're not going to go forward. Their knee-jerk reaction is to say not now or no, because
Correct.
they don't get it. They don't get the value.
Correct. And you know what's the worst? That it's not your fault. I mean, it's maybe they got some blocks and you don't know what they are, and you couldn't overcome because you didn't know they were analytical and visual and they were global verbal. But what if we understand how they learn, so we can switch the way we talk based on how they can understand it? Now, I can tell you something. What happens statistically, you're going to close 97% of your business with those people. Why did I say 97%, no 100%? Because if someone understands fully how important it is for them or how important it is not for them, they're going to tell you either yes or no. If they say yes, guaranteed they are going to move forward because they feel empowered. You are the only one I can understand on this topic. I feel empowered because I'm learning something from you. I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. So since they manage your piece of information, they feel empowered. Okay. If they say no, you're totally sure that their no is because they are not interested. So you're not going to think, maybe I should have said that. No, you said exactly what you have to say for the person to say, no, I'm convinced, I'm not interested. That's it. This releases so much stress in the follow-up, chasing, and all of that, because now you're more effective in using your communication based on how they actually learn, and they can learn from you. You know what happens when people say no to me? I love when they say no, because what I think is, okay, here there is a huge opportunity to share referrals. And you know why I receive so many referrals? Because they understand my business. Because I want them to they understood what I do for the people. And that's what we want. And what happens is I have a list of many people I joint venture with that we basically meet once a year. Actually, we were doing with some groups once a month, some other people once a year. And we just share and say, okay, what would you do this year? This. Okay, how can we pass referrals each other? And it's amazing to do that. So it's amazing. And they never work with me and I never work with them. But we are so good together because we understand each other. So
Yes.
anyways, that's
and it's
that's the
literally
value.
speaking the same language. You're
Correct.
speaking the same language. That's what it is, because you understand each other. And the thing is that I'm hearing from you that I want to kind of focus on is it's not that they have to work to understand me. It's incumbent upon us to be flexible and adapt to their learning style.
Yes, I basically, let's say, to be practical, when I had the person, so this guy basically couldn't close people in a presentation. Okay, no problem, no big deal. Okay, so what's your presentation? This. Okay, you know what? You're not hitting, maybe you're hitting just the analytical part. The rest, it's nothing. He was a financial advisor. So finances, guys, it's very, very detailed. It should be detailed, okay, for many people. Anyways, I said, why don't you use all four when you're talking? So what happens was that when he was pitching one-to-one, he created pitches for analytical visual, pitches, a pitch for global verbal, a pitch for analytical verbal, a global visual person. So when he had the person in front of him, he was pitching in the way they could understand him. And when he was in a group, he was using all four. So he knew that everyone understood what he was doing.
Yeah,
super great. So he had maybe he passed from closing 1 out of 5 to 1 out of 2 in like a month. And it was super good for him because he said, see, you were blaming yourself. You were thinking you were bad in presenting, bad in public speaking, but it's not you actually. It's a wrong method you were using. You know how much stress I released from that guy and how much he released from himself? That's me. That means for me changing the world. Because actually it can really help people with these products. So
yes, having tools in our tool belt or methods, additional methods, as you mentioned, is empowering.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And because then you can, and once we learn what those tools do, I'm thinking of a hammer, I'm not going to use the hammer to screw, a screw. I'm going to use it to hammer some. So you have to learn how to, what tools you have and what their function is.
Yes. And most of all, how you like hammering things. There are different ways to do that.
Yes. Yeah. And then
exactly
dialing in those skills as well. So because of the time, so thank you so much. This is beautiful. I just love this. And it really gets my brain going and realizing first and foremost, who we are, like what our strengths are, right, is important. And then be able to identify what other people, what their strengths are so that you can know how to speak to them.
Yes.
So, we're, except for you're a young man, you have a young brain, but, for the rest of us, is it true that we lose our memory? We lose memory as time goes by. I mean, reassure us that it's not, that's normal, right?
I'm sorry. Yes, you're going to lose memory. You're going to become dumb. And I'm just kidding. Okay, no. Okay, let me tell you something. No, it's a false myth. Okay, it's not true. As the time goes by, we'll lose our memory. We lose our memory only if we have degenerative disease, which is Alzheimer or other things. Okay. So now, I want to dispel this myth for all of you. Okay, so let's go back to the to the car example. So I want to change a flat tire. Okay, I don't give you tools. Whether you're 18 or you're 80, okay, if you don't have tools, you can change the flat tire. So it's not a method of it's not a matter of a person. It's a matter of tools they are using to learn. So when the time goes by, what happens for us is that we start playing multiple roles in our life. So when we were kids, we just play the role of the kid, playing, having fun, and maybe go to school. That's it. And the role increases as the time goes by. So maybe we are now teenagers. We are going to do also a part-time job plus the school, but just 2 roles in this case. And maybe we have a sport. Okay, we do sport. These are 3 roles. But when we become like entrepreneurs, or we start working for whatever, we start working for a company, learning, studying, being a parent, maybe running a business aside, working with taxes, working with any other things. So we start playing. These are called roles in our brain. Now, it's been studied that our brain needs to play different roles to be very active. So that's good. But why, when I grow, I lose my memory? It's because your focus is divided in different roles. That's what happens. And actually, it's not the roles, the role problems, because we can do just one thing. Scientifically, we have to do multiple things to feel satisfied. But what's the other thing to tell you? It's the problem that you don't have you never developed a method since you were a kid in school now to deal with all the other roles and be successful in all of them. So no one taught you about just this stupid thing about I would say small thing about the cognitive styles. If you knew from the beginning, you were analytical and visual, for example, and you need to search more for the big picture and doing things. If you knew that, when someone was talking to you, would have asked them, can you give me just an example, a practical example to do that? It would have got it and gone ahead. But since you didn't know that, rarely you felt enough smart to ask that question because you didn't want to be judged that you were dumb because you won't understand. So there's so many dynamics around that. But what I'm saying is we don't lose our memory when we grow. Actually, it has been studied also that a person that is like 54 years old or 80 years old actually can memorize faster things than an 18 years old or 1 year old. For what reason? Because an 80 years old has more neurological connections that will connect the new knowledge with the previous knowledge that they have. I want to give you an example. If I tell you something about boundaries, okay? Boundaries. Okay, you know what a boundary is? Yes. If I talk about boundaries, your brain is going to find out all the knowledge that you have about boundaries to understand what I'm talking about, correct? Try to explain to a kid that's 2 years old boundaries. You can't because they don't have any pre-knowledge about that. So it will be harder for them to memorize the word and understand what the concept is. So it's not true actually that we lose our memory when we grow, or our intelligence in this case. Actually, we don't have a method to use to take advantage fully of the power that our brain has. Is this clear?
Yes, and that's beautiful, and that's reassuring too.
Yes.
I like
so what
hearing
I'm
that.
saying is,
I like hearing that good news.
What I'm saying is you have to find a method, guys.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yes. Okay, so let's get down to it here. Becoming a genius, right? Because that's what you're all about. You know, your company is Genius 21
Genius in
Days.
21 days.
And the concept of that is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you can, develop a new habit or get rid of a bad habit in 21 to 30 days, right?
Correct.
So that number 21 is an important number because we could change our life in 21 days.
Yes.
Right?
If you
right?
want,
Okay.
yes. Yeah,
Good.
if you're willing.
If you're
Yes.
willing. So here's my question. So to become a genius, it requires motivation, commitment, right? Doing things that you might not enjoy. Is that true?
Yes. So just a second, because I have to go. Yes, Catherine, see you soon. No problem. I was distracted. I'm sorry. I heard the question, but yes, it requires motivation, effort, and what? What did you say also?
Commitment, motivation, and, discipline, I imagine, So
Okay.
how do you teach that in your courses? How do you teach people to, okay, I see a need. There's things that I know that I have blocks and I don't have the tools for it. I'm willing to do it, but then what?
Got it. So if I understood very well your question, you said sometimes it requires to do something that's not enjoyable. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. The problem in that sentence is the word not enjoyable. So I want to say something. If you don't enjoy it, it's not the way your brain wants to do that. Okay, so that's the first thing. And the second
So
thing
it's
to
like,
tell you is,
that's a good little wake up call, right?
yes, you don't have idea how many times I found blocks with people without a test because I understand what they don't enjoy, what they are doing that makes them feel frustrated or overwhelmed.
Mhm.
The other part is it requires discipline. I really believe that even if you're super disciplined, but you don't have a method, so the discipline is nothing. Cosimo, you say something against against everything I believed maybe until now about discipline. Let me tell you something, an example, very practical. You can be very disciplined, but if they don't give you tools to change the flat tire, you can be highly energetic, committed, and whatever you said in the sentence, but you will never be able to change the flat tire because you don't have tools. It's not because you're not disciplined or because you're not committed. Okay. So the method is to have tools to use, tangible tools to use. So to become a genius, what I believe is to become a genius, actually to release the genius that you already have inside of yourself is to give that genius the tools to change this damn flat tire. Okay, that's what I believe. And second, you will notice that once you give the tools that your genius likes to use, so when your brain likes to use it, you will feel not only empowered, but you will feel like enjoying the whole process, enjoying that everything will go great because you know what to do. I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying, but it's a state of mind that at least you achieved one time or multiple times. Have you ever like learned a language or learned something that you thought you couldn't learn? And after you learn it, how did you feel? I can do that. You feel super empowered, like more than you thought you should, more than you actually fathomed to feel in that moment. It's because our brain likes learning. What our brain doesn't like is the process. So it's the tool, it's the method we are using. Okay. So we don't have tools to do that. But if we change the process, so we enjoy the process, we can achieve even more results in doing that. So
yes, and a lot
that's
of
what
that
I'm
is
saying.
reframing things, right? It's reframing that, it like, I don't like this. Well, work it in a way that allows your brain to feel empowered and to enjoy it.
Correct.
So you
Correct.
mentioned, I want to kind of wrap things up here so we can open up for questions. So you mentioned the genius test towards the beginning of this conversation. So what is the genius test and why do you do this before, you're offering your course?
Oh, okay, I got it. So in the beginning, I talked about, yes, about the genius test. So basically, okay, let's start this way. The genius test allows us to know, it's called actually learning abilities test. Okay, so through which I know everything about your mind. So blocks you might have, strengths that you have, things that you're using, how your brain likes learning, so many things. Okay, how you think when you learn. So many things. Now, thanks to that test, I can structure a perfect method for your brain to work. So to each block technique based on how your brain likes using them. Done. Most of all, most of the times actually, many people that come to my course, they said, I go to YouTube and I can find memory techniques, I can find reading techniques, I can find organizational techniques. And I ask them, have you ever used them? Yes, I did it, but then I stopped after 1 month or after 1 week, after 1 hour, okay, whatever. And I asked them why, because I didn't enjoy it. I didn't know how to use it. Great. Out there, guys, there are so many techniques, so many, you don't have idea. And all of them actually are effective for what? For specific learning models. So what do I do when people come to the course? Before they take the course, they take this test. So I design for them, okay, what does the method look like for your brain? What actually are the strategies that work for your brain? So to each block, there is a technique. Block, technique. And the technique of reading of that person will be different from the other person. So they are different. For example, speed reading doesn't work with everyone, for example, okay? But what I teach to them then is also strategic speed reading or strategic reading, where there is other ways of reading. Now, speed reading usually doesn't work with everyone because they don't have already strategies. So if you speed up a brain that doesn't have strategies to learn, for example, they're going to lose more piece of information. So they are not going to go faster because they are losing understanding. Okay. But if you give them both strategies and speed, so what will happen to them? They are going to feel empowered so they can speed up. They feel confident to speed up. So what are the strategies specifically for your brain to have speedy reading work for you? Is it clear what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yes.
the
No.
Genius test gives me that answer, allows us to be unique in customizing the method versus just giving you techniques.
Right.
And say, try it. Good luck.
Yes. Yeah. So then you have a better, you have a better idea of what people's learning styles is, and then how to compensate or adapt.
Yes. So another just came to my mind. Another example that I can give you is if I go to a doctor for something that I have in my body. Okay, let's say I have a problem with the heart. Okay, I'm not going to a doctor that is for the brain, okay, or for the legs, okay, because the surgery that a heart surgeon can do for me, it's different from someone that can do on my brain. Okay, so we need to be strategic on what is the thing for you that you have to do.
Yes, be strategic. Yes, that's a good word. Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and feel free and unmute yourself. This is a great opportunity to ask Cosimo questions or share things, possibly things that he's shared that you felt that really, were resonated with you. And then Cosimo, you're welcome to share additional stories, success stories from your coaching students that you've had in the past and how they benefited from your training. So feel free and just go ahead and unmute if you have a question.
I have a question.
Sure.
Thank you for this today, first thing. But when you go through and you're talking about the way that you present and everything, I think of myself as somebody who is global and seeing the big picture of what the project is that people want me to create for them. And then the visual part of with the fabrics and the threads and getting their product done for them. So a lot of times I have people that need to know every single little tiny detail that I'm doing, and they don't need to know all of that because I don't know that until I get all the way through it. So it's not like I have a cookie cutter process for these different projects. So how do I get to that analytical part that everybody wants to know every little thing that I'm cutting? Well, how do you cut that to make that? And it's like, well, it just happens.
First of all, I want to understand a little bit your job. So what do you do?
Oh, sorry. I have a personalized embroidery business. I also create different products for the individuals, for individual use.
I see.
Or I just got done doing 22 bags for a retreat with their logos on it, embroidered on it. So I'm creating it from fabric up.
Okay, perfect. So basically, I know now why your question, so it's easier. So,
okay.
And I want to ask you something. No problem. So what you're asking is, Cosimo, since I understood that I'm global visual in this case, based on what you're saying, even if I think you are a little bit different, but maybe we can do a one-to-one and we can talk.
Okay.
So how can I actually explain to details what I'm going to do, something that actually I don't know the whole process until I do it? Is it correct?
Pretty much, yes. And then it's like they get stuck on one part of my process that isn't really a big deal. Because, okay, what's the color of thread in this part? Well, you're not going to see it. So who really cares? Hot pink. I don't know.
Do you say this to them? Do you say this to them?
No, in my back of my mind, I want to just slap them, but
that's actually how to destroy an analytical person. So that's good. Now, let me tell you something. If an analytical person is asking to you, I want to know the process. Actually, they are not analytical. So they can be analytical, but maybe they are systematic. That's another cognitive styles. But what you should do in that moment when they ask you that question, you say the truth. The process will involve different steps that when I'm going through, I can let you know what I'm doing, but now I cannot answer this question. The only thing I can answer is the beginning of this process. What I'm going to do is this, this, and this. From there, I have to see how it comes. And then I can show you, and maybe let's do another one-to-one to show you the process. Is it good for you if I can do, if they are visual? Is it good for you if I can do a video for you? Is it good for you to show you? Is it good for you to whatever? If they are verbal, you say, you want me to tell you why I'm doing that way when I'm doing it? Or you just let me do it and then I can explain to you the whole process. What do you prefer? They're going to tell you, okay, maybe I'm too picky. Okay, you know what? I trust you. Thank you. Let's do your job. And then I'll come back and see what you're doing. Then your good job will be to follow up with them. So what happens is you're going to text them and say, hey, do you remember last time I told you there are 3 things that I'm going to do for you? The process was 3. Now I found out that I can do this, this, and this. I'm going to do it. Is it good for you? They will say yes, because they don't know what it is, like you said. But at the same time, if they know it, they appreciate it, what actually you're going to do, so they can follow the process.
Okay.
Now, you explained to me now your business. Fortunately, you had a background on your business because I know some people that do that too, and I understood it. But if it was my first time exposure to what you were doing, I need to ask you more questions, for example, because I didn't understand it. So I will feel uncomfortable, let's say, if I'm analytical, to understand. And so if I don't understand you, I don't know if you can do a good job for me. Is it clear what I mean? So, but if you're able to put together some details, let's say 3, okay, for that question, and then answer the way I told you to answer, you are giving them, yeah, I'm with you. So I understand that you want to see the process, but also me, I can't see the process until I do it, but no problem. Let's keep posted when I'm doing the process, and I will follow through. I will tell you exactly what I did step by step if you want.
Okay.
They would say, great. So I trust you because other people, they didn't tell me they could show me the process, but you can. So good. First of all, they are going to hire you. They are going to feel appreciated. Then I don't know if this at the time, how much time it will take you to show them the process. But I think with a video can be good. I'm going to send you a 30 minutes video. If you want to watch it all, you can. It's up to you then. You asked me to know the process, but that's it.
So that might be a good thing to have in my back pocket of tools, of videos already of when I receive the design, this is how I digitize it. This is a first sew out. This would be the way that I would tweak it. And here is the end product.
Yes, you though have to know who you have in front of you. Because so there is a way to understand other people's learning styles. Now it's very long to explain to you today, but I think you can take the Genius course. I would say that way. You will love it. But on the other hand, I would say videos can be a good thing to start. You also have to know who you have in front of you and try to understand if they want more details or no. And I think you are able to do that. Not necessarily you can analyze them immediately if you don't have a tool, but at least it's a good start.
What I hear you saying is you don't have to show that video to everyone. You just have it in your back pocket for the person that is asking her all those details. She can share a generic one that she does and just says, this is the process. It's not necessarily your process, but this is, maybe this will help you with some of your concerns.
Yes. And you show the video when you are with them and not after you close the call. Okay. So it's important, that part. Analytical people are very forgetful.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, and also you mentioned this earlier, or maybe it was in the talk you gave last week, is to we never want to make anybody feel dumb, right?
Oh, no.
So to be able to say, that's a great question. Like you said that to me earlier. That's a great question. No matter what it is, even if you think it's like, oh no, not that one again, but that's a great question. And because Tamara and I've talked about this. I used to sew a lot when I was growing up, sewed on my clothes. And so to say, that's a great question. I pick the thread that best blends in with the fabric so that it's not visible. I make that choice at the moment, but I always choose the one that is, not going to be visible. So a pat answer like that might be good too. Anyway, I know I'm going down a rabbit hole, but I think that's a great, it's important because we all have examples like that in our business, that we can be able to have those answers in our back pocket ready to answer people, and then also to be sensitive to what their concerns are. So that's a great question. That great feedback, Tamara. So Chuck, I just saw you unmute. Do you want to?
Yeah, so I have a question.
Sure.
Sometimes, Cosimo, like when I was in college or when I go to seminars or conferences, I'll when I get there and we're getting ready they're making the presentation, I'm in the audience, and I have no control over their teaching styles, right? But if I know, so I don't know how to ask this question correctly, but if I know my learning style.
Hey, just a second, Chuck, you were cut. Can you repeat that? Like the last sentence. I arrived until you said you don't know their learning styles. And I was trying to, you were frozen.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
it's my internet, sorry.
So anyway, when you go to a conference, you don't have any control over their teaching style. All right, but I have a learning style. We'll say by your course, I learned what that is. So how do you build that bridge with the educator? Because I've gone to many and I go, oh no, how am I going to make it through this? This guy or this gal is, man, I hate this. So, I mean, so how do you do that? I mean, how do you bridge that so that you learn something?
I really,
Is the question legitimate?
Yes, super legit, super. I love it. I love it. I have to answer in a very short way for the time, but let me tell you something. The discussion about the learning styles doesn't work only you have them understand, but also you understand them. Okay. So in this case, there are other techniques to do that. There are many, but the thing is, if you understand what the speakers' learning styles are, with the techniques that you have, you can translate in the way your brain likes learning that. And translating that allows you to ask questions to connect dots with the speaker in the conference. So allows you then to understand. So to give you an example, let's say you understand that the speaker is analytical and visual. Okay, you're global verbal. And the speaker is just giving you so many examples, but never get to the point of understanding why those examples. Ask them, hey, I understand that the example is this, this, and this. Did you understand right? Or why are you saying that way? Whatever. Then only appreciate you asking questions, but you also allow yourself to feed your verbal part to understand. That's one very quick strategy. There are other techniques that actually translate exactly what our people are saying in the way they're saying it, in the way your brain can learn it. I can tell you, check out the mind maps, there are many others, but so mind activation, there's another one. Anyways, the thing is, you have to know, first of all, what you like to translate that. Second, have a strategy to translate that. And third, be able to ask questions. So that's what I would say. And I can do a one-to-one with you if you want, but in this case, that's the short version of my answer.
Okay, all right.
And that's brilliant.
And so asking questions is key.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yes.
Because you don't have control over them, but
Correct.
You have control over yourself to reframe things in a way that your brain understands it. And it may kind of activate them to be more sensitive to, other people that might have the same challenges. Well, thank you so much, Cosimo. This was a wonderful, wonderful conversation.
My
and
pleasure.
Really engaged our community here. But I want to just go ahead and, just in the interest of time, just share, because you generously offered our community, and Tamara missed the opportunity, but it's not too late. Cosimo offered a fabulous freebie. So here's the deal, it's today. So you can attend his learning blocks and professional blocks. It's a 3-hour masterclass that he's offering. It's a $937 value. And it's today from 4 to 7. Is that still with the time change? Does that,
Yes,
that
yes.
still works, right? And you can
You're in
text
Arizona
him.
or in, no, in
We're,
Seattle?
we're
No.
Washington.
Yeah, so no problem.
Yeah, we're Pacific time. So you could text him 303-589-7430 with your name, and Cosimo will send you a text with the, as a link. I left out the L.
To sign up.
With a
Yes.
link, not an ink, a link to sign
A
up.
link to sign up.
And then you can go to genius21daysusa.com to go check out Cosimo's website, or Cosimo Intermite at geniusin21days.com to contact him. He mentioned a one-on-one a couple times. So those are ways that we can.
Yes.
Is there anything else
And-
I've left out?
No, I would say something. If Tamara, you can come today. Usually we do the course not very often, but this month we had so many people signed up to the course. People also they are paying the course, so we are going to do 2 of those. So one today and one Thursday 24th, the same time.
24th. Okay.
Today
Yes.
is perfect. Thank you.
Okay, sounds great.
I'll be texting
Okay, send
you.
me. Perfect.
So Cosimo, just quick question for you. Well, so let me go ahead and end here, and just let me see here. So stop share. And I can